grandma, Ingeborg Gertrude Klug, was born on September 7th, 1938, in a small town in Austria called Turin, once known as Villa Comagena. My grandma's childhood memories are filled with hunger, suffering, and death. Up until the age of 6, she was living under the rule of Hitler, which, as you can imagine, was absolutely horrifying. But it's important to honor my grandma and her childhood by remembering with her. There was one instance that she'll never forget. She almost lost her family. She wasn't home at the time, but her mother and older brother were. A cuckoo sound came over the radios. Which meant warplanes were coming and an air raid attack was about to happen. That was the signal for everyone to go into their bomb shelter. Her mom and older brother at home were just about to go into theirs when her mom got a weird feeling, an uneasy, sick-to-your-stomach feeling. So instead of going to their own bomb shelter at home, they went over to their neighbors. And just as they got into the entrance of their neighbor's shelter, a bomb struck my grandma's home and destroyed everything, including that shelter. There was another time that my grandma and her family went to the air raid shelter at the nearby Catholic church, just so they wouldn't be alone. Before getting allowed into this shelter, they had to show their identification cards. This is my grandma's actual identification card. My grandma recalls that one of her neighbors had a baby, and when the woman got to the shelter, she had realized that she had forgotten their identification cards. So the woman ran home with her child to grab the cards, and when she came back, she had the cards, but she had left her child at home because she was in such a rush. So the woman ran home to get her baby, and just as she got back home, a bomb struck her house, killing them both. After the war, when Austria was divided into 4 Allied zones, my grandma had the misfortune of living in the Russian zone, which was far worse than the war. Every day, as a young child, she had to go out and search for food. Everyone was starving. She says that the Russians treated them like animals, that they just took whatever they wanted. After years and years of war-torn memories, each more horrific than the next, her family planned their escape out of Austria. There were failed attempts, of course. It wasn't just as easy as buying a train ticket and leaving. But finally, at the age of 14, she made her way over to Canada. When she got there, she slowly but surely learned to speak English and eventually got a bachelor's degree from the University of Manitoba. A couple of years after that, my grandma met my grandpa while he was on vacation in Canada to fish. It was love at first sight. Over a year's time span, they sent letters back and forth and only saw each other a total of 12 days before she came to Iowa to get married. This is where they stayed and built their family. Although my grandma loved her new home, she longed for her actual home in Austria. So she decided to turn her home and life into a business in 1985 called Villa Comagena to honor her childhood. She has groups of people over to cook them an Austrian meal and tell them all about her life, stories like ones I've just shared with you. And then she has them shop in a store that she has right in her house. Along with this, she takes groups of people over to Europe to show them around her home in a way that most commercial tours cannot. She takes all sorts of people over, friends, families with kids, grandparents celebrating an anniversary. She always takes them to her hometown of Turin. I had the privilege to go with her a few years ago. We toured Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic. I'm the dorky-looking kid in the front. She loves to be able to go back to visit the place where she grew up, to be able to share her important wartime stories, but then also be able to show people how beautiful her childhood home is now. My grandma is 81 this year, and has hosted a total of 101 tours, with plans to take 3 more yet this year. It's important to honor my grandma and her childhood by remembering with her. From living under Hitler and the Russians, to fleeing to Canada, and then surviving to marry in a small town in Iowa, my grandma, now Ingeborg Gertruda Schminke, has made an impact. I am grateful to carry her memories forward to the next generation. Imagine just one step in the wrong direction could have totally changed her future and mine. The things she went through, the things she saw, I can't even begin to fully comprehend. But knowing that she survived and thrived